Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Aviation. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Buhari greets elder statesman Christopher Kolade at 90. Federal government promises to improve aviation safety in 2023. Plus, Belarus summons Ukraine's ambassador over S-300 missile. Details of these stories and more in a moment. First in our news, President Muhammadu Buhari has shared in the joy of celebrations with elder statesman Dr. Christopher Kolade on his 90th birthday. According to a statement by the president's media aide, Femi Adesina, Buhari rejoiced with the academic, broadcaster and diplomat for his influence in every area of service to the nation. Through upholding the truth, the president praised the renowned leader for his inspiring courage to have chosen a career path that brought him dignity and honor as a teacher, and by providence rising on corporate ladders before taking up. The Buhari has transmitted the Federal Produce Inspection Service Bill to the House of Representatives for consideration. In a letter addressed to the Speaker Femi Bajabiamila, the president said he took the action pursuant to Section 58, subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. According to the letter, which was read by the Speaker during plenary, the Federal Produce Inspection Service Bill seeks to provide for import into or export from Nigeria at ports of shipment and for related matters. On a sad note now, President Buhari has mourned the President General of Ohanaeze Ndigbo, Professor George Obiozor, describing his death as an immeasurable loss to Nigeria. According to reports, the elder statesman died at 80 after a brief illness. In a statement by his media aide, Femi Adesina, the president said he was saddened by the passing of Professor Obiozor, as his contributions will never be forgotten. The Nigerian leader said the statesman had commanded great respect among his peers in the academia and foreign policy arena, and his memory will be honored by embracing his beliefs and ideas geared towards uniting Nigeria beyond geopolitical considerations. President Buhari also commiserated with Obiozor. Away from that now, Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau says it will intensify efforts to improve aviation safety in 2023. The Bureau's Director General Akin Olateru made this known in Abuja in an interview with newsmen. According to Olateru, one of the fundamental objectives of the Bureau is to improve aviation safety by determining the circumstances and causes of air accidents and serious indents. The Bureau's boss said to achieve the feat, the Bureau had planned to train and retrain its staff to sustain best practices in 2023. He said 3 air safety investigators of the Bureau had just completed their program at the Nigerian College of Technology Zaria to boost capacity. In another development, according to a document on the Nigerian Content Intervention Fund presented by the General Manager of Nigerian Content Development Fund and Treasury Management, an arm of the Nigerian Content and Development Monitoring Board, Obinna Ofili. Ofili said the fund was established for purposes of implementing the development of indigenous companies in the country's oil and gas industry. He said 70% of the fund went into commercial intervention applied to supporting commercial activities in the oil and gas industry, working capital, project and contract execution, asset acquisition, loan refinancing, special project vehicles, specialized projects and equity investment. Ofili said the remaining 30% was invested into capacity building expenditure. On the legislature, the House of Representatives has asked the federal government through the Nigerian Petroleum Development Company to suspend the planned auction of oil mining license 11 for $250 million, to suspend the planned auction and sale of the asset until relevant issues were resolved. The House also mandated its Committee on Petroleum Upstream to urgently investigate the planned auction, among other matters, and report back within 4 weeks. The motion of urgent public importance leading to the resolutions was moved by Victor Mela. On education now, the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, SANU, has described as irresponsible the move by the Ondo State government to establish another university in the state. While condemning the proposed establishment of another university, the SANU chapter of Adekunle Ajasin University, Akumba Akoko AAUA, argued that the existing ones are underfunded and university workers are owed over 10 months' salaries. The chairman SANU AAUA, Tayo Ogunbemi, in a statement issued today, stressed that 4 years after the implementation of the new national minimum wage in Nigeria, none of the tertiary institutions in the state have implemented it for its workforce. The governor, Oluwarotimi Akeredolu-led administration, had last week announced plans to upgrade the state-owned Rufus Giwa Polytechnic, or Rugigbo, to a university. The state government on the directives of the federal government that all polytechnics either be converted to universities or be affiliated with existing ones. Away from that now, Nigerian Bar Association (NBA) has vowed to ensure that justice is deservedly served in the case of Lagos-based female lawyer Bolanle Rahim, who was shot dead by a police officer on Christmas Day. The police officer, who was later identified as Drambi Vandi, an assistant superintendent of police, was attached to Ajiwe police station in Ajah, Lagos State. The cop and his team were said to have tried to stop Rahim and her family members as they drove back home from a church service. Rahim was shot when her car attempted to make a U-turn under the Ajah bridge and was later pronounced dead at the hospital to which she was rushed, causing outrage among Nigerians. Reacting to the incident, the NVA's third vice president, Mandi Asaba, chastised the police officer for violating the police code of conduct and assured the victim's family that the NBA will pursue the case with them until justice is served. Still from the judiciary now, there was wild jubilation today erupted in the camp of the All Progressives Congress (APC) as the appeal court members set aside the judgment of the Federal High Court in Abuja, which ruled in favor of Senator Yusuf Abubakar Yusuf by not only nullifying the party's primary that declared Buacha as a winner of the party's governorship primary, but also ordering for fresh primary. Though it is not yet clear whether Yusuf will be challenging today's judgment, which affirmed Buacha as the authentic Gober candidate of APC for the state, some members of the parties who bared their minds on the judgment believed that the Supreme Court will as well rule in favor of the candidate. Elated by the judgment, the leadership of the party said today's judgment has further confirmed that they have a governorship candidate for their political party in Taraba State. Speaking through the party spokesperson Aaron Atimas, the leadership of the party said the governorship primary results from all the 168 wards of the state was corroborated by both the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) and all the security operatives that monitored the primary. Elsewhere, Election Petition Tribunal has upheld the election of Governor Biodun Oyebanji of Ekiti State and his deputy Monisade Afuye In its judgment today in Ado-Ekiti, the tribunal dismissed the petition of the Social Democratic Party (SDP) governorship candidate Segun Oni. In the judgment read by the chairman, Justice Wilfred Bochi, and a member of the panel, Justice Saad Zadawa, the tribunal resolved Oni against the return of Oyebanji and Afuye had failed. Meanwhile, the Apex Igbo social cultural organization Ohanaeze Ndigbo worldwide has expressed shock over the death of its President General, Professor George Obiozor. Governor Hope Uzodimma of Imo State had on Wednesday, in a statement, announced the demise of Obiozor at the age of 80. But reacting to its President General's death, Ohanaeze, in a statement titled Igbo Titan Bows Out, signed by its National Publicity Secretary Alex Ogbonnaya, said Professor Obiozor sacrificed his personal comfort in the service of the Igbo nation, adding that the iconic diplomat would be remembered for irrepressible courage, candor, tolerance, large-heartedness, and equanimity. In a related development, former President Olusegun Obasanjo has described as a huge loss the death of George Obiozor, the President General of Apex Igbo Social Political Organization, Ohanaeze Ndigbo. Obasanjo described the late media Kehinde Akinyemi stated this in a statement today, as he was called and phoned to be informed about Obiozor's death. Obasanjo, Nigeria's former president 1999 to 2007 and the African Union AU High Representative to the Horn of Africa, is currently in Ethiopia. In another development, the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress have listed conditions for the proposed review of the national minimum wage. The union said the continuous rise in inflation and the devaluation of the naira should be checked before the salary increase announced by the federal government could be considered. The organized labor explained that the cost of virtually all consumables in Nigeria had been on the rise, stressing that if this should continue, any amount of money that would be added to the minimum wage might not meet the expectations of workers. They spoke against increments for civil servants and public officials. To Ogun State now, where the House Assembly today passed the 2023 appropriation bill. The lawmakers passed a total of 472.25 billion naira as the 2023 budget, as presented by Governor Dapo Abiodun almost 1 month ago. However, the Assembly made some adjustments in the recurrent and capital estimates, as well as the projected revenue in 31 areas across 26 agencies. The passage of the bill followed a report of the House Committee on Finance and Appropriation. The chairman of the committee, Olakunle Sobunkanla, had moved the motion for the adoption of the report, seconded by his vice, Ganiyu Oyedeji. In politics, Governor David Umahi has debunked allegations of sponsoring the gubernatorial candidate of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) Ifeanyi Chukwuma Odi, and Umahi noted that he prefers to support Senator Obinna Oba, representing Ebonyi Central Zone, who contested to fly the ticket of PDP in Ebonyi, than supporting Ifeanyi Odi, who hails from the same Ebonyi South Zone as him. The governor disclosed this in a statement signed and made available to newsmen by his Special Assistant on Media and Strategy, Chu Soko, shortly after the visit of the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, at his hometown at Umunna. Still in politics, the 5 aggrieved People's Democratic Party governors have met with the All Progressives Congress presidential candidate Bola Tinubu in London, the United Kingdom. The APC standard-bearer was said to have lobbied for the endorsement of the 5 governors during the marathon meeting. Recall that Governors Nyesom Wike of Rivers, Seyi Makinde of Oyo, Okezie Ikpeazu of Abia, Samuel Ortom, Benue, and Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi of Enugu states, and some political heavyweights from the south had vowed not to support the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar. They said their decision was due to the refusal of the party's national chairman with Tinubu. The PDP said it was not aware of their parley with the ruling party's presidential candidate. The PDP threatened to punish the governors for any anti-party activities, stressing that it had the capacity to discipline the governors. Meanwhile, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency NDLEA has warned politicians providing drugs for youths and using them against opponents to desist or face the full wrath of the law. The Kano State commander of the agency, Abubakar Ahmed, who made the declaration, said the agency will not fold its arms and watch some politicians foment violence in the coming 2023 elections. He mentioned this while responding to questions from newsmen after the annual press briefing of the Kano State Command headquarters of the NDLEA. Ahmed also said the command had ceased in the state. Elsewhere, newly trained constables will be deployed next year to complement the efforts of police in today. The Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba, reminded the graduates that the police force under his watch had zero tolerance for indiscipline, and acts that were at variance with police professionalism would determine how far the graduates would go. He admonished them not to engage in any act that would unedify their names, families, and the police as they launch their careers in the police force. The IGP also commended President Muhammadu Buhari for representing. Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba, has again promised that justice will be served in the murder of a Lagos-based lawyer, Bolanle Rahim. He made the pledge while receiving Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu at the force headquarters in Abuja. The IGP also cleared the air on the identity of the police officer arrested in connection with the murder of the late Rahim. He explained that, contrary to speculations that the suspect Drambi Vandi was switched with the real culprit, the man arrested had confessed to the crime. Baba also assured Nigerians that there will be transparency in the handling of the case, adding that the culprit will be dealt with in line with the law. In a related development, Lagos-based lawyer Bolanle Rahim. In a statement, the Commission spokesman Ike Chukwuani said the suspension of the cop was with immediate effect. Vandi, who was attached to the Ajiwe police station in the Ajah area of Lagos, had on Christmas Day shot at the victim. Rahim was reportedly shot when the car she was on tried to make a U-turn under the Ajah bridge, after which the victim was rushed to the hospital but was confirmed dead. On his part, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba, had condemned the killing of the lawyer, as well as recommended the suspension of the prime suspect and his immediate prosecution. Back here, residents of Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State capital, are calling on the government to stabilize the cost of food, as the price of food items tend to increase due to high demand. Speaking with our correspondent on the effects of high food prices and Christmas festivity, the respondents top while the price of foreign rice goes for 250 and 270 naira per cup, as well as other food items. According to them, food prices this year keep increasing, and the price of staple food has gone beyond the affordability of many Nigerians. They also said any measures taken by the government to improve the economy.
It used to be, even the Gary itself, nothing is at the same rate again.
Token on you see they pay 50. It mean token, yana meeting 100 naira. Onion say me see them to me, I brought meeting in there, I'm see the 15 naira. It mean you need 200 naira. Focus on Kodiba. Who goes on your rice and stew? But who to rice and stew? Ibahaba. Who goes on about Comenam Yarafon? Nigeria, Yanam Yarafon. So the man I want to talk.
I've seen them before, but now I'm body by these days. I did buy with the business neighbor in the I did walk about Nagasiro. Put a book on them because I had a come to Buganuyam. I've been again.
Bielsa, I always get it from Bielsa. So transport here, even when you bring it, even half cane inside, you only get small gain because of people are not coming to buy.
Still to come in the news. Lekki Port begins talks on liquid berth terminal. Do stay with us.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
To Africa, where a South Sudanese official has said that at least 57 people have been killed and more than a dozen others injured during recent ethnic violence in South Sudan's eastern Jonglei region. Greater Bibor's Information Minister Abraham Kelling said armed groups of youths from the Nuer ethnic group had attacked members of the Mole ethnic group in the Greater Pibor administrative area. Kelling said the fighting started on Sunday when armed youths from Jonglei attacked the injured. According to reports, South Sudan, which gained independence from Sudan in 2011, has been blighted by political and communal violence and clashes over cattle and land disputes for decades. Still in Africa, 46 Ivorian troops whose detention by Mali triggered a bitter diplomatic row were today brought in for trial at a court of appeal in Bamako. Their appearance came in the run-up to a January 1 deadline set by West African leaders for Mali to release the soldiers or face sanctions. 49 troops from Ivory Coast were held after they arrived at Bamako airport on July 10. 3, all women, were later released. Those remaining, branded by Mali's junta as mercenaries, were charged with a fall in to provide routine backup security for the German contingent of the UN peacekeeping mission in Mali. Manufactured by Indian drug maker Marion Biotech, the ministry said that preliminary tests showed a batch of the Doc 1 Max syrup without a doctor's prescription. Reports say the amount they consumed also exceeded the standard dose for children. The allegation from Uzbekistan comes weeks after the Gambia also linked child deaths to cough syrups made by another Indian firm. According to India's health ministry in a statement, its officials have been December. It added that health officials have conducted an inspection of Marion Biotech's facility in Noida in Uttar Pradesh state. In another development, a man in southern Senegal has set himself the ambitious task of planting 5 million trees over the next 5 years. The visionary project came to Adama Diame when he returned home to the Casamance region in 2020 after a few years working in his youth. Only a handful, if any, now remained. According to reports across Africa, the certification is one of the reasons blamed for deforestation, but in this area, Along the sweeping expanse of the Casamance River, the trees are more likely to have been cut down for construction purposes like building houses or to make charcoal. Meanwhile, Dieme, who now works as a project manager for a Spanish non-governmental organization in Casamance and also volunteers as an agricultural trainer, is determined to change all that. On in as Israeli Prime Minister today, taking the helm of a right-wing coalition government, Netanyahu took the oath of office moments after Parliament passed a vote of confidence in his new government. The vote marks a return to power for the hawkish political veteran after a stint in opposition, heading what analysts are calling the most right-wing government in the country's history. His return marks his sixth term in office, continuing his more than a decade-long dominance over Israeli politics. Into the army's alleged use of chemical weapons against Kurdish fighters in Iraq, Turkish Medical Association head Sebnem Karo-Fincanci was detained in October for using a television interview to highlight claims that first surfaced in media close to the outlawed Kurdistan Workers' Party (PKK). The militia said 17 of its fighters had died in Turkish chemical weapons attacks in the mountains and caves of northern Iraq. And while the PKK is proscribed as a terrorist organization by Ankara and its Western allies for waging a bloody insurgency that has claimed tens of thousands of lives since 1984. Reports say the 63-year-old forensic medicine expert could be jailed. Still on the foreign scene, the European Union's health agency said today it believes cases in China. The United States and several other countries have introduced mandatory COVID tests on travelers arriving from China. According to the European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control (ECDC) in a statement, such measures are not necessary for the EU as a whole. Air defense missile in a field. The military commissar of the Brest region, Oleg Konovalov, told locals they had nothing to worry about. Belarusian Foreign Ministry spokesman Anatoly Glaz said the Belarusian side viewed the incident as extreme result of air defense and something in the Brest region, 15 kilometers from the border with Ukraine. In the meantime, Iran's army today began military exercises in strategic southern regions east of the Strait of Hormuz. Deputy Coordinator of the Armed Forces Admiral Habibullah said around the southeastern port of Jask. The Strait of Hormuz is the strategic choke point at the head of the Gulf, through which a fifth of world oil output passes. Sayari said exercises will involve infantry, armored and mechanized units of the ground forces, defense systems of the Air Defense Force, subsurface and surface vessels. Naval Force. Still on the foreign scene, the head of the Kiev Regional Military Administration, Alexei Kolever, says explosions were heard in Kiev today, while air defense systems have been activated in the capital region. In a statement, Kolever said after the night attack of self-exploding drones, the enemy was attacking Ukraine from various directions, with air and explosions were also heard in Kharkiv, adding that according to preliminary reports, incoming rockets hits were recorded. Meanwhile, Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov says the country will not negotiate under the terms of Zelensky's peace plan. Lavrov told reporters that Zelensky's idea of driving Russian troops out from the Donbas, Crimea, Zaporizhia and Kherson with help from the West was an illusion. He also dismissed the idea that Kiev would achieve reparations or that Russia would appear in international courts. In our business news, the Chief Operating Officer of Lekki Port Enterprise Limited, Lawrence Smith, says talks have been opened with potential operators of the liquid berth terminals. Smith, who stated this in Lagos, noted that the port was putting everything in place to give a world-class port experience and that all the relevant agencies have been sensitized to undertake their roles in the new port. The Deputy Chief Operating Officer of Lekki Port, Daniel Odibe, said the Lagos State government had commenced work on the construction of access roads leading to the port. Still in business, PricewaterhouseCoopers Nigeria has advised winners of March. The submission was made at the group's stakeholders forum on marginal oil field license in Lagos. The Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, Engineer Gbenga Komolafe, emphasized that the Petroleum Industry Act was phasing out the marginal field regime with the objective of equalizing all oil and gas producers in Nigeria. Komolafe was represented at the event by the Executive Committee of WEBU. Elsewhere, the Ogu Youth Congress has threatened to paralyze operations at Onne Port if Chevron Nigeria Limited proceeds with plans to move its logistics base out of the Onne oil and gas free zone. In a statement, the president of the group, Taripakaye Wopo, while addressing journalists in Ogu, Rivers State, said that the planned relocation of the Chevron logistics base from the Onne oil and gas free zone would lead to severe economic hardship for people in the host community who have been supporting the operation, were being employed and were earning salaries. But if Chevron leaves the facility, it will bring back hunger to the community because many people will go into poverty, thereby increasing the level of poverty in the community. Still to come in the news. Matthias Meyer retires after 3 Olympic golds. Do stay with us.
Every day, we bring you up-to-date information on topical issues affecting the common Nigeria, from issues on politics,
hello Nigeria, I remain committed.
Security, education, health, lifestyle, and so much more. Join Janice Kobum and Uyai Anyeken every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
Allowed by cross them. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have.
I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My Lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered,
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My Lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord. These cases are in court, my Lord. I'm just reminding your Lordship.
My Lord, sorry, my Lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Thanks for staying tuned. Now in health, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention (NCDC) says as of December 23, the country registered 49 confirmed cases and no new death from monkeypox. They add to the last report. It could be recalled that monkeypox had been renamed Mpox to avoid the racist and stigmatizing language used for the disease that originated in Africa. Mpox, not the time for complacency. Still in health, the United States has joined a growing number of countries in imposing restrictions on visitors from China. According to reports, hospitals across China have been overwhelmed by an explosion of infections following Beijing's decision to lift strict rules that had largely kept the virus at bay, but tanked the economy and sparked widespread protests. Recall that China said this week it would end mandatory quarantine on arrival, prompting many jubilant Chinese to make plans to travel abroad. In response, the United States and several other countries announced that they would require negative COVID tests for all travelers from mainland China. The U.S. move came after Italy, Japan, India, and Malaysia announced their own measures in a bid to avoid importing new variants from China. In sports now, Brazil football legend and three-time World Cup winner Pelé has died at the age of 82. Pelé had been treated for colon cancer following surgery to remove a tumor in September 2021 and had required regular medical treatment after being admitted with infection before subsequently being moved to palliative care when his body became unresponsive to chemotherapy. Pelé died today at the Albert Einstein Hospital in Sao Paulo, and his daughter Kelly Nascimento confirmed the news on Instagram, writing, open quote, "Everything we are is thanks to you. We love you infinitely. Rest in peace," close quote.
Thank you, Xavier Robert. Good evening and welcome to the Sports Desk. I am Bright James. We begin with the story of Australia's Matthias Meyer announcing his surprise retirement after a glittering career that featured Sochi 2014, Pyongyang 2018, and Beijing 2022. Meyer won gold in the downhill in Sochi in 2014 and followed that up with further Super G golds in Pyongyang in 2018 and Beijing this year, when he also won downhill bronze. Now to football, where West Ham United will revive their interest in Nigeria defender Ola Aina. Aina was close to joining David Moyes' side in the summer, but the Hammers failed with a late bid. According to the Evening Standard, the London club are looking to bolster their full-back options and may turn to Ola Aina again. Vladimir Kofal is out of form, while Ben Johnson has struggled with injuries. The other full-back of the club, Aaron Criswell, is aging. Leeds United and Crystal Palace are also reportedly interested in Ola Aina. He's into the final 6 months of his contract, which received an offer from Serie A clubs as well for Super Eagles defender Olisanda. This is according to Isizulu publication Iso Leswe, who claimed to have received the information from a source who is close to Nda. Sassuolo are currently in 15th position in the Italian top flight and are winless their last 4 league fixtures. They'll resume league action at home to Sampdoria on January 4th, 2023. Nda, who's 24, joined Orlando Pirates from Aqua United in 2021. He made his Super Eagles debut in 2019 and was a member of the squad to the 2021 African Cup of Nations in Cameroon. Signing of forward Mikhailo Mudryk, the Gunners, who reportedly had an opening offer worth around £55 billion, including add-ons rejected, are yet to meet the demands of the Ukrainian club, with the payment structure also being discussed. Sources close to the deal have explained that Shakhtar view Mudryk, who has played just 8 stands for his country and is yet to score a goal in international football, as one of the top 5 wingers in the world. Shakhtar believe he is better than Anthony at Manchester United, who cost £86 million from Ajax in the summer, and are using that as their benchmark in negotiations. And that's all from the Sports Desk this evening. I am Bright.
She's appeared as the sole Afrobeat single on the chart in the latest issue of the Billboard Hot 100. The Selena Gomez's assisted remix retains its number 83 spot from number 1 for the 17th straight week. Reports say Thames Free Mind retained the number 2 spot, while Burna Boy's Last Last remains at number 3 and Wizkid's Essence at number 4. Still on while performing, Iris Star, who wore a yellow attire, was running during her performance when she slipped and fell. Speaking on the incident today, the singer said the fall was unnecessary and painful. She advised the organizers to clean their stage after every artist's performance next time. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. STVNg. You have been watching Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, wishing you a restful night rest. Good night for now.